Communication is essential to all relationships, but a lack of effective communication could leave you unsure of where you stand. Learning to communicate clearly and consistently with others is an essential tool for developing healthy relationships. If you're able to communicate well, you may find that the relationships you have with your partner, friends, family, colleagues, and acquaintances are easier and have less conflict. Communication can be verbal or nonverbal. By crossing your arms and rolling your eyes during a conversation, or nodding your head and leaning in toward the person speaking, you can convey a lot of meaning without words. Body language is a vital aspect of communication that can display your emotions. But if you find yourself in a relationship where clear and reassuring communication is insufficient, you may feel confused, lonely, or left with mixed signals because you don't know how the other person is feeling. This lack of productive communication can also take a toll on your mental health over time. What does lack of communication mean? A lack of communication typically occurs when someone experiences challenges with effectively communicating their needs and expectations. If you have a difficult time communicating, you may find yourself not getting your needs met at work, with your family or friends, or in romantic relationships. You may also feel anxious, insecure, and lonely. Challenges with communication can make it difficult to maintain relationships or leave you feeling uncertain about where you stand in a relationship. Ineffective communication can lead to many misunderstandings or disagreements too. This can include making mistakes, having your feelings hurt, causing arguments, or distancing yourself from others. Ineffective communication in the workplace can also cause your work to suffer. If your manager neglects to give you feedback, positive or negative, it can be difficult to improve your performance. Examples of poor communication. The communication patterns that your partner's family may have taught them can influence your relationship with them too. For example, maybe your partner grew up in a family that didn't communicate effectively, but instead regularly communicated through yelling and shouting at each other. This, in turn, may cause them to shut down when attempting to convey their needs because they were criticized or yelled at when they had previously tried. Poor communication can also affect you beyond just your relationships with friends or family. It can also present challenges at work. Ineffective communication among coworkers can also affect your job performance and your team's ability to reach goals. Imagine a different example. Perhaps your supervisor doesn't clearly communicate what is expected from you during the workday, which could leave you wondering what they really want from you. This failure to communicate clear expectations could lower your morale or cause you to get in trouble for not meeting unclear expectations. But situations like this aren't strictly one-sided, and constructive communication will rely on your input as well. If you don't communicate to your supervisor that you're unclear about their expectations, they won't know that you're having trouble meeting your goals and might even assume that your silence means that you understand the assignment. In both of these examples, rifts in communication can cause negative outcomes between you and another person, and thus impact your relationship. Signs of poor communication. Poor communication can leave you feeling frustrated, upset, distant, confused, and more. Even if you can't pinpoint exactly where the communication is breaking down, you can feel the stress of those interactions. This is why it's important to identify the signs of poor communication in your relationships, so you can work to address them. Some general signs of poor communication include passive listening instead of active listening, shutting down, letting things bottle up inside until you explode in anger or sadness, yelling or screaming, becoming physically or verbally abusive, dismissing other people's points of view, demonstrating passive-aggressive behavior, not being clear about expectations, needs, or wants, giving the silent treatment, interrupting. Is lack of communication a deal breaker? Poor or insufficient communication doesn't have to be a deal breaker, as long as both people are committed to learning and practicing better communication skills. It's a two-way street, and repairing communication works best when all people involved share the responsibility of making it work. By practicing, giving feedback, and seeking out help, anyone's communication skills can improve. However, if someone continually crosses your boundaries or frequently degrades or verbally abuses you, it might indicate an unhealthy relationship, and you may benefit from reevaluating that person's role in your life. How to improve communication. Improving your communication skills is an ongoing process. The more time and practice you put into it, the more improvements you'll see. There are many techniques that you can learn and practice in your everyday conversations to create more opportunities for positive interactions. Use I statements. Using I statements helps you put your feelings into words and explain how you're specifically affected by another person's behavior. Because you're intentionally focusing on yourself, you aren't attributing negative actions or placing blame on the other person. This can help prevent a defensive reaction because the other person is less likely to feel blamed. Once you've communicated how you're impacted by the behavior, you can then start to describe what changes you would like to see to resolve the conflict. Set clear boundaries. In any relationship, setting clear personal boundaries is very important so that there's no misunderstanding about when those lines are crossed or what topics are off limits. If boundaries aren't clearly communicated, people may be unaware that they've gone too far. Here's an example of setting a clear boundary. Mom, I don't like it when you shout at me over the phone. I'm not okay with shouting, and I don't want to have our future conversations include shouting. This person is clearly communicating a boundary, that they're not okay with yelling, and stating their expectations for future conversations. Take a timeout if necessary. There are certain times, especially during a heated discussion, that it might be necessary to take a break so that you can calm down, collect your thoughts, and return to the discussion with a clearer mindset. If you find yourself in a heated argument, overcome with anxiety, or very upset, it might indicate that you need to take a timeout. Taking some space for yourself doesn't mean that you're avoiding the issue at hand, but rather helping to make sure you can return and communicate your ideas clearly. In fact, it can be an effective technique when tensions are running high because it gives everyone the chance to cool off. Practice active listening. Active listening is when you listen closely to what someone is saying with the intention of understanding and responding to what they shared. To practice active listening, give the speaker your full attention. Avoid interrupting. Avoid jumping to conclusions. Reflect back what you hear the person saying. Be aware of your body language. Make eye contact. Don't judge or shame the speaker. Next steps. People who communicate well are able to clearly express themselves and their needs and understand the expectations that others have set for them. But this isn't a skill that always comes naturally, and it can take time and practice to truly master. If you face challenges with your communication skills or feel that there is a lack of strong communication in your personal relationships, consider talking with the other person about your concerns and commit to finding new techniques that can make you both better communicators and listeners. However, if you feel too overwhelmed or anxious about exploring how to improve your communication, it may be helpful to consider talking with a therapist or a trusted friend. They can help you identify challenges and offer suggestions to improve your communication skills. Remember, poor communication doesn't have to signal the end of a relationship. Instead, it can be used as an opportunity to practice and improve. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel.